PubG Mobile World Invitational is powered by Gamers Without Borders and brought to you by OnePlus, the official smartphone provider. Nemo TV, the official streaming platform, and STC, the official playout sponsor. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now 4 games done and dusted here with our first day here at Gamers Without Borders, the PubG Mobile World Invitational. And I'm so excited to see what's all going to happen at the very end of the day, because we still have the entire West Conference to go, which will be happening after our final match does finish off today. But before we get to that, we obviously need to break down what's happening in our 4th match. So guys, Blank and Bled join me yet again here in our virtual world, our virtual studio, our virtual city, we'll call it, since technically the city is ours, since they're the only one inhabiting it. At least people that are real. I think. We're real, right? Yeah. Real. But again, we come out with another fantastic match, and what a crazy finish. I mean, you saw Max and Imperium's face after that one, and there was almost no words to be said.
I mean, all I'll say there is Martin is a brolic tie man who just pulled the bed sheets over to Xavier and proceeded to obliterate them during that one. What a flashbang that was to move back around the smoke and set himself up for success. I don't know if anyone could have played it better in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, might as well just call him Doc Martin, right? Because that was technical as hell. I have to apologize for that as well. But yeah, he played that so very well, and I really felt like DX had that one in the bag, but I am kind of happy Valus were able to get a chicken dinner in the end, because they've had top 4 placing in these 4 games. 4th place in the first game, 4th place in the second game, and coming in the third one, they came in the second, if I'm not mistaken, and then, sorry, they came in third, and then they finally get a very well-deserved chicken dinner. And for me, especially, Brian, it's the fact that it's not just about them getting the placement points and being consistently top 4, top 3, whatever, but also they have 9 average kills per game. That is ridiculous, especially when you look at the other teams they're playing in this competition.
Well, now we know why their old alias used to be what it was. Living up to that name. Let's take a look at the match rankings, Blank, while you continue the point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just looking at this very quickly, Xavier, they deserve a little bit of credit here, Jason, because they're doing fantastically well. But looking at the average placement going through, Valdez Esports currently sat at a 3rd average placement, Xavier at a 4th, and the next best to that is a 7th. Like, these two teams have absolutely been killing it out on the field today, Jason.
Xavier coming in from Vietnam. I mean, again, I can't really think of a Vietnamese team that really has stood out over the last couple of years when it comes to PubG Mobile on a global scale, but they're definitely putting their foot here on the pedal, or the pedal to the metal. The metal to the pedal, as Max Man would say. But we see the 29 points from Valdez coming through. Zeus, you know, we had some back-to-back. Yeah, exactly, right? I'm just so good, I get it right every time, which is the wrong way.
What can you say?
But Zeus, you know, they've had a rough couple of games. They come back with 13 points. Blacklist International, we haven't really seen them since the first game of the day where they took themselves home a chicken dinner. But Geek Fan coming back in, Bigatron, we are starting to see some names that we expect to get back towards the top of the page here. But
yeah, like A1 Esports, they kind of struggled a little bit. I think it was Bigatron who took them down, but I feel it's been a story of these Southeast Asian teams, right? Apart from Bigatron, obviously everyone knows about them. But yeah, like I said, look at Valdez and how dominant they've been, and I love the fact that it's not just for the Xavier as well, and these Vietnamese buying teams really stepping up to the plate. For Zeus Esports though, yeah, sure, I mean, they have been kind of quite a couple of games, but that's the way they kind of play, right? That you have games where they just pop off and just take over the entire server, or they just kind of quietly go out and whimper in the bottomless position. So I'm still going to wait and figure out how they're going to be performing later on in the event. But Blacklist International and Geek Time as well, again, right? They were able to get some really high placements earlier, and even here a 5th position is very, very respectable.
I think for Zeus Esports as well here, Jason, I think we have to commend them getting a 3rd place during this game, because Ably was able to do so well, slipping undetected during those moments. I think the scary thing for me at the moment is Bigatron, the superpower from Indonesia. These guys, although not putting up the expected performance we know from them, because they're just always on top, they are still creeping up behind, and we know that Bigatron can have the most explosive days possible. So as long as they stay towards the front of that peloton, they don't fall too far behind, there is still a chance to scare some of the guys towards the top.
Well, to be fair, there's still a chance for all these teams. I mean, at the end of this next match, we'll only be a 4th of the way through our total matches being played throughout the East Conference. And we see the likes of Navi there. We know how powerful they can be, I guess, once they get adjusted to the lobby. A couple of other names, DRS. We saw take a chicken dinner earlier on today. They also come out with only 1 point. Reject, unfortunately, the team from Japan we were talking about, as, you know, really surprised us and really showing us that Japanese strength. Unfortunately had a rough game, I guess we could say here. But to move on from this, I mean, you already talked about it before, Blank. You touched on it. average placing third for Valdez, average placing fourth for Xavier. I want to look at these teams' average stats to see how similar or maybe dissimilar they might be in certain aspects, because these are, well, at least one of the teams I didn't really expect to be putting on quite a performance today.
100%, Jason. I mean, just looking at the stats as we will see them come on our screens very shortly, it is a little bit of a difference here. And I mean, to be honest with you, Valdez are so far ahead at this point, almost 30 points ahead of Xavier, 50 points to 79. Sorry. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I've got to let the guys know. But look at the average survival time. I think the average survival time is probably the most important here. Xavier's very close to Valdez Esports. However, Valdez are just currently being massive in the damage category. Literally everything is better on this side, which obviously is going to come through. But looking at this, you wouldn't expect, Blair, for Valdez Esports and Xavier to be first and second place in the overall rankings.
Absolutely not. I'm not going to even pretend that I would expect these two teams to be on top. Maybe, you know, at the end of the first couple of games, but now that everyone's kind of warmed up, everyone's feeling pretty comfortable here, the fact that Valdez and the Xavier are able to maintain this consistency and showing that the Southeast Asian region is not something we trifle with is very impressive. Now, we talk about these two teams, but I got to give a shout out to Geek Fam as well. From Malaysia, sure, they have the 7th average placement, but they're right now placed 3rd as well on the leaderboard. They're looking very, very good. Excuse me, I almost choked there, but...
oh, dear.
Excuse me. But then again...
Well, Xavier choked as well, so I mean, you're just doing the part, right?
Oh, you said it, not me. But I feel like it's just the fact that the Southeast Asian countries, regions where we don't really expect them to, I wouldn't say not do good, obviously they're good enough to be here, but not really dominate the way they have so far. I think that is what's impressed me a lot. And if this is the trend that's going to continue going into day 2 tomorrow, I know we still have one more game remaining here, I think we're in for a very, very interesting event.
Yeah, there's obviously it's a very interesting event. I feel like we're going to see teams adapt as we get through the next coming days. We'll touch on that a little bit later on once we do finish off the show. But before we get to that, obviously the match is coming up in just a few minutes' time. We wanted to dive further into the two teams we were just looking at in terms of who are the standout players and their kind of head-to-head between each other when we look at the radar. And you can see it's going to be Martin and Frankie coming through here for the respective teams. And funny enough, I mean, you're seeing with Martin, he's going to be over on the blue side. He is putting up some big numbers yet again. Number 1, I believe, in damage, kills, and knockouts.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, this leads back to my earlier point where, you know, I look at these two teams and I look at their stats, and if I'm looking at it objectively, I'm like, Valdez is in first, but Xavier is probably around about a 6th or a 7th placing. But no, they're second. In the same place here, Frankie versus Martin. Frankie being the best player on Xavier so far in terms of stats percentages, but Martin makes him look terrible by comparison. It is ridiculous.
Damage numbers, man, that's just ludicrous, isn't it?
Well,
and go on.
But it's just, I think we have to keep in mind is that maybe it's one of those cases, Blink and Blah, where Martin is just playing that well for his team, but maybe he's going to be the standout player that if they're going to do well, he's the one to make it happen. Whereas aside for Xavier, maybe it's not just Frankie, maybe it's just multiple members that are all firing all cylinders, allowing them to play like this. So the question comes: is this just maybe a one-off day here for Valdez as he's been able to play so well? Can other people step up to his level? What if he doesn't play well? Will we see Valdez fall off on day 2?
I think that we're going to continue to see Valdez do very well here, Jason, purely because I've been taking note of their a central spot or a place that has a lot of flow through of teams where there's a lot of traffic there, and they'll hold them down. We've seen them multiple times playing on those ridge sides and really being able to control space. And I think that's one of the major things during these tournaments, especially with Southeast Asian teams and the East being so oppressive in their rotations as well. Being able to do that so effectively and confidently speaks volumes to Valdez Esports.
Well, on the note of speaking volumes, I think we need to take a look at our top 10 killers, because I think that's going to really show which teams and which players individual are speaking volumes about what they can bring to the table so far in today. And we actually are going to see Concept come through out of Valdez as well at 12 kills. So we see 2 players from Valdez make it into the top 10. But Bleh, is there anything else that surprises you in our top 10 kills overall?
Yeah, I mean, 4 games down, and I have to touch upon, like you just said, Martin, Concept, and Tyra has won a 6th position, right? So it's not just a Doc Martin show. Everyone is delivering in when they have to. But where's Zol? Where's Crypto? Like, where's Zuxi, for example? The fact that they're not there, it's kind of crazy. I do not expect to see this at the end of Game 4.
The thing is, for me, and you already touched on this, right? If we want to talk about Bigatron a bit, which we obviously do talk about Bigatron, they have such a big legacy behind them. They have so many eyes watching them, whether it's Indonesian fans, also a lot of pressure. But one thing this team showed us when it came to PMGC is they could have a bad day or two. Thinking back to the league stage, we had like a terrible day one for them in week 1. Day 2, they come out, knocking out 93 points and get themselves into the Super Weekend. So we know that potential. But I do wonder, have other teams just surpassed Bigatron? Are Bigatron not as good as we used to see them?
I think that, Bigatron is one of those teams where we have seen them being, fairly consistent today. It's one of those cases where they're not falling behind, which is great. This is really good news for any Indonesian fans out there of the team of Bigatron. But I do think that it just feels a little bit off to me at times where they're not really adapting. It's the same playstyle we've seen a lot of times. What I'm really excited about...
Elders dan juga Geek Fam, itulah satu tanda-tanda yang agak menyenangkan lah pada waktu ini. Dan jarang sebenarnya untuk melihat Snipes juga berada dalam ranking-ranking ni. Selalunya kita nampak Damroot yang sebenarnya akan mewakili Geek Fam. Yang peliknya dia seorang aja selalunya yang akan tak tahu macam mana dia datang. Tapi kali ni ada Snipes sekali dekat situ, pemuda kelahiran Sarawak. Tapi kita akan lihat sama ada dia akan berjaya untuk mendapatkan kemenangan untuk tournament kali ini, sebab it's a prestigious tournament. Kalau menang walaupun duit pergi charity yang begitu besar, boleh masuk dalam resume lah.
Ya, itu memang betul. Dan saya boleh katakan bahawa berdasarkan apa yang kita tengok daripada Snipes, kebanyakannya dia mengambil